How you doing, mate?
Super, big guy. How's it going?
Yeah, you can recognise where I am by the background.
That's it. You're staying in a hotel. You know, you've got. I bet you. Are you alone?
Yes.
Right. Okay. No bother.
No, definitely not.
Listen.
What?
This is our first podcast in a while, but this is our first podcast after we've actually had a beer in the flesh.
Yes, it is. It is. So, for those of you who don't know, that me and Robin finally, after all this time, I think it's 18 months since I've seen you in the flesh, something like that.
It would have been. It must have been. Would have been the last Palm Academy meeting, I think, wouldn't it?
I think it could have been Christmas, 2019. It
was. We had the PWTAG conference, which I was a keynote speaker at, by the way. That was in November 2019, and then we had the Palm Academy meeting on December 2019. And I think that was the last time, big guy. We'll come back to PWTAG in a minute because we've got hot off the press news, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we basically I was referred for a job, and regarding an algae bloom in an indoor pool, which is a bit strange. So I was referred on by a large pool contractor. So me and Robin flew down from Scotland to have a look at the problem, everything in hand. And we did a large project on this big 25-meter 6-lane pool to deal with an algae bloom, and also to do a lot of dye testing on to confirm flow rates. And a brand new pool, I say brand new, it was 5 years old, wasn't it, Robin?
It was. It was a lovely pool, wasn't it? Absolutely beautiful.
Good finish. Good install, but we discovered quite a few issues with the pool itself.
Yeah, we did. The dye test was a fantastic exercise. It maybe didn't give the client the answer and information that they wanted, but it was a very, very productive exercise.
And we completed a very comprehensive report for the client, which they were more than pleased with, because they've got a way forward to try and fix and solve their pool now, hopefully. And we might be going back in December. We've got to follow up with them and see where they are with it just soon. But so for anyone out there who wants any dye testing done or get any chemistry problems with pools or engineering and that, and want a completely independent report on it, me and Robin are your men. We'll sort of come and do it together as the duo. So that was our overnight works, and then we got to spend a bromance day together. Because we were in a meeting together on the Friday as well, which was quite good.
It was some day, wasn't it? I mean, I flew down after finishing day 3 of a pool plant course on a Wednesday, and then straight down to you. Went to the client. We worked from 10 o'clock at night right through till 8 in the morning. Great bit of work, great project. Did a lot about prevention, about how to treat it. Got the old speedos on. Showed how how effective calcium hypochlorite is, and got the wee scrubbing brush out. Had a sweat on, and then straight to yours to deliver.
No, that's not right. That's right. Remember, we went to celebrity pool.
We went to a celebrity pool. Yeah, absolutely. We went to a celebrity pool to deal with that. Are you allowed to say which pool?
No, I'm not. Actually, okay. I'm on an NDA.
Right, no bother.
I'm on an NDA for him.
No bother. So we'll not mention the celebrity, but it was. I tell you what, some pad,
It is. Yeah, it's impressive.
Wow,
very impressive.
The pool is the worst part of it, you know, and it's a nice pool, you know, but it was the worst part of the pad. But and then delivered a wee 3.5 hour sodium bisulfate online training from lunchtime, and then you and I decided to get a couple of steaks, and it was just one of the weeks where I must have worked 7 days in 5, if that makes sense. 7 days, but crammed them into 5 days. So sleep. I'll do that when I'm dead. Yeah.
And the funny thing was, I think we hadn't slept since the day before, and we were just living off Red Bull.
Listen, if anyone bought shares in White Monster, then do you know what? They've gone through the roof, because that's all I lived off of for about 3 days. So it kept us going until we got the steak in us at the end of the Thursday, and then we had a big meeting again on the Friday, didn't we, in Birmingham? So that was good. It was a crack week, one of those hardcore weeks, but very good, very satisfying, very productive, and client was delighted with the job.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the big news for anyone who does follow this podcast, last time they heard from us, they knew it was the big fight.
Listen, you might get beat in a battle, but the war wasn't over. They had to get me in the end, you know.
So yeah, for those who don't know, Robin and I were on the vote off for PWTAG Council members rep, which I won, even though Robin was trying to blackmail people. And in the meantime, what we didn't know that a PWTAG Council member stepped down, and I was offered his position. So, which I then took, which then meant Robin was on the council. So I think, what was a member's rep? Was it for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I think it was 3 weeks. I was officially the member's rep.
Quickest resignation in PWTAG history, wasn't it? You had to resign to get the other post. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. That was really strange. I had to write a resignation letter after 3 weeks. It was, it was a bit surreal. But so it turns out we're now both on PWTAG Council.
So we can call the podcast the PWTAG Council's podcast. Nah, there's a few other gurus that might need a contribution if you were going to call it that. But yeah, no, it's great to be on board. Great to be part of the movers and shakers within the governance of the industry. And can't wait to the first meeting on 13th of September.
Which is my birthday.
Wow. Listen, excitement couldn't get any better than the first meeting of the PWTAG Council, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll need to tell them it's your birthday. They might sing happy birthday because it's online.
I very much doubt it.
No, listen. Don't tell them how old you are, because that might embarrass a few of them. Because they're probably old enough to be your dad.
I'll maybe go a bit further than that.
No, listen. What an opportunity for the two of us. Also for our clients, customers. They're now able to use consultants who are at the forefront of governance of swimming pool water treatment. So we're delighted to be involved, and hopefully we can contribute to the Pool Water Treatment Advisory Group, their standards, and actually promote PWTAG to the industry and try and increase the membership and try and fly the flag for standards within swimming pools.
No, definitely, and it's good. And while we're thinking about standards of swimming pools, so one of my first roles when I was a members rep was to actually have a look at the new Code of Practice along with all the other council members. To be fair, there's quite a few people that looked at it and comment on the draft. And for those of you who didn't know, there was a new Code of Practice which came out on the 19th of July this year, which is a bit of a strange one, a bit of an anomaly here because it applies to England just now, but not to Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, I believe, because you're slightly behind on where you are with your pools.
Is that right? But I think because of the 9th of August, our social distancing went down to the 1 metre, and that's indoors. And the levels we're now level 0 plus 1 or whatever that is. We're pretty much bang on with south of the border, apart from a few things like you still need to wear your mask on public transport and stuff like that. So, and you only need to social distance in certain areas. So I think, if you're to follow your own risk assessment, and if you were to follow PWTAG guidance from now or from last week, I think you would probably be you'd be well within your rights to do so. I don't think anyone would have any issues with you from a water treatment perspective following the PWTAG Code of Practice. Swimming pools have started the showering process. We're back to pretty much normal sessions. I think the only thing that there's still a wee bit element of control in terms of a booking system, but the numbers, the maximum bathing load has increased up to pretty much what it was prior to COVID. So yeah, there is maybe a couple of restrictions that are still in place, but I would suggest that the PWTAG Code of Practice applies UK-wide in terms of the real guts of it. There is a few changes in there. There's some controversy in there. Ian, I don't know about yourself, but I've had quite a lot of conversations over the last couple of weeks where people have said to me, Robin, I'm not sure about this. For example, I had a conversation this morning with one of the biggest leisure providers in Scotland, and they ran their swimming pools prior to COVID with their free chlorine about 0.7, 0.6, 0.7 with UV, and they kept their pH down at about 7.2 anyway. And now they're having to increase that free chlorine level, to cater for the increased minimum chlorine level that Ralph's put in the PWTAG Code of Practice. Now, the caveat is it's all dependent on your bacteriological sampling results, but who in their right mind is going to go with a lower level than the minimum level that what's in the Code of Practice? So there's a wee bit of, no, I wouldn't say consternation, but there's questions I've been asked. Robin, do you think this will change in a year's time, or will we go back to trying to go with the lowest possible with the free chlorine, which you are, but it's still higher? I mean, if you can't maintain your pH down at between 7 and 7.2, you're now having to go 2 milligrams per litre for your free chlorine. And there's places in Scotland that use CO2 that will struggle to keep your pH down to that level. So there's going to be a bit of management of this. There's going to be struggles potentially in certain areas. There's going to have to be decisions made in terms of how you might maintain your pH. Do you start to use sodium bisulfate? Do you go down that route, a mineral or organic acidic pH reducers? So there's a wee bit of water to go under the bridge before people are going to be able to maintain the standards within this PWTAG Code of Practice that's come out. So it'll be interesting. I've got a lot of people who have got quite a few questions that they're raising that they think, well, maybe a wee issue with this. So time will tell on that. But listen, we're here to help, No,
we are. So if anyone hasn't sort of read the Code of Practice, I'd encourage you to go to the PWTAG website. So PWTAG.org, and just click on sort of standards and guidance at the top, and you can download the new Code of Practice for free. There's not a summary change of it, as in an easy one-pager that you can read and say these are the changes. So the first main change was really about chlorination and pH, and it said, well, in the first instance, try and aim for a pH level of 7.0 to 7.2. And if you can do that, then have a minimum free chlorine level of 0.75, as long as Robin said, it's within that bacteriological, or 0.75 milligrams per litre, as long as it's within the bacteriological, can achieve decent bacteriological standards. However, it then goes on to say, if you're unable to maintain that 7.0 to 7.2, which a lot of pools using carbon dioxide, because it's quite weak, probably can't get anywhere near it. So they're in the 7.2 to 7.4 bracket, and it's saying for that type of pool now, you should consider keeping your free chlorine level as a minimum of 2 milligrams per litre, with the upper limit still being at 5.0 milligrams per litre, which hasn't changed really. That's always been the same before in the past. And that's the part that's thrown people, is that we've lowered the pH to increase the efficiency of the 7.0 to 7.2, but the 0.5 minimum, which existed before, has actually just jumped up that little bit.
Well,
I don't think everyone ever kept it as low as 0.5, to be fair, though. 0.6, 0.7, yeah.
I've actually got customers I'll give you an example, and I'm sure they won't mind me telling you this, but in Shetland, they're maintaining their free chlorine about 0.5, 0.6, you know, bang on. And they've got UV, they've got very, very good practices there. If I do say so myself, I give them all the training. And they're good guys, they know what they're doing. And their bathing loads can be quite low, you know. If I was to say, if they got 6 in the swimming pool, they'd be mobbed, right? Because they've got 8 swimming pools for a population of 23,000.
Yeah,
right,
23,000, isn't it?
So 8 swimming pools, but because of the geography, there's I can't remember how many islands there are, but there's 1, 2, 3 on different islands. So you know, and the oil boom led to them getting the swimming pools. So there's you know, it's fantastic that they've got that amount of water and swimming pools up there, but that means that their bathing loads can be quite low, and quite rightly so. They've got their chlorine level right down, but they're going to now have to almost double their chlorine consumption, and they're using UV. So that's plus they're now going to have to have their pH down between 7 and 7.2, which means an increase in the use of CO2, which is the most expensive chemical that you'll use in your plant room, in your water treatment process. So there are going to be decisions, tough decisions made, especially in Scotland and the north of England, where you've got soft water, where you're used to using CO2, which is the weakest of all the acids, and you're used to maybe maintaining your chlorine at 1.2, and maybe your pH is 7.3, and it might pop up to 7.4 at times during busy periods. Now you're going to have to get it between 7 and 7.2, using CO2 that might not cut it, or you have to increase your free chlorine level. So some users, some operators are saying, well, we're going to use the sodium bisulfate to try and keep the pH down. But that plays havoc with the alkalinity, because the sodium bisulfate drives the alkalinity down. Then the guys are having to raise the alkalinity. They're whacking in sodium bicarbonate. And if they don't do it properly, they end up creating sodium carbonate, as you would know, Ian.
Yeah.
And then that raises the pH. Then they have to chuck in more sodium bisulfate. Then they have to raise the alkalinity again. They're chasing their tail in a vicious circle, and it becomes a very problematic issue in terms of water treatment. TDS goes through the roof. Everyone starts to get stressed because one day their alkalinity is sitting at 40. They chuck in a load of bicarb. The next day it's sitting at 30 because the sodium bisulfate has detected a pH increase. Dosed in, well, sorry, not the sodium bisulfate, but the automatic dosing units detected the pH increase. Dosed in a load of sodium bisulfate. That's brought the alkalinity down. You're back to square one. And all you've done is raised a load of stuff in the water, put a lot more stuff in the water, raise your TDS. So it's really, really important that people follow procedures and processes and best practice for raising alkalinity to ensure that you're not encouraging the pH to go up and subsequently dosing a load of sodium bisulfate into the pool. In hard water area, it's not so bad because your natural alkalinity level at the tap could be up at 200, maybe even 250. And then it's a godsend, the sodium bisulfate going in, because that's bringing the alkalinity down to where you need it to be. But not in soft water, because you're having to raise the alkalinity. And the CO2 raised the alkalinity as well, which helped with that. But now the issue is that the CO2 might not be cutting it, or it'll be costing a fortune to keep the pH down.
This is one of the things we've been talking about, isn't it, Robin? That when we got back together eventually about doing certain videos and different things that we could do together. So we've got some time highlighted in our diaries later on in the year where me and Robin are hopefully going to meet up a couple of days and try and get some more videos, but we want to do them on site rather than be doing this sort of internet over Zoom type thing scenario. And yeah, I think that's one for us, isn't it? Definitely something about alkalinity, because everyone's chasing their tail with it. It's definitely one that we can bring up. But still in the code of practice, here's the other controversial thing, Robin.
Yep.
Frequency of pool testing.
Absolutely, big guy.
Now,
absolutely.
You had to read the finite of the detail there, because it's now every 2 hours. So
yeah.
Before there was a bit of a caveat on there about whether you had an automatic dosing system, you could do it minimum 3 times a day, or if you're hand dosing, it's every 2 hours. Now it's every 2 hours. So you know, a lot of the big operators do every 2 hours anyway, or if not every 3 hours, I would have said. But for some of the smaller operators, who would maybe be, for example, a school open 9 till 4, might do like a morning, a lunchtime and an afternoon test, it's probably going to mean a couple more tests for them now. So there's a real step up with the frequency of testing. It's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not hit home yet, because in Scotland they're still doing it every 2 hours anyway. Because, as you say, we were a wee bit behind in loosening the restrictions, so it's no kicked in. But see, when everyone realises, are we back? Are we still doing the 2 hours? You know, do you know what? People are going to go bananas, because you know they're going to say, well, up to prior to COVID, every 3 times a day. There's some places that open at 5 in the morning and are open right through to 10 at night. Yeah. Every 2 hours is going to be, they were maybe doing it every 4 hours if they've got a big volume of water, like a 50-metre pool, or where the water, the parameters don't change that much because of the volume of the water. Now they're every 2 hours. So it is, listen, it's going to have an impact. We'll need to see. I mean, I don't know whether the PWTAG Code of Practice is going to remain like this indefinitely, or whether this is a transition period between now and when we think we're out the pandemic completely. Time will tell on that. Time will tell. So we'll need to just run with it just now.
I think you're right. I think we should be grateful for the fact that we've had a hellish 18 months and that we're finally kind of seeing light at the end of the tunnel. We're almost kind of restriction-free-ish, kind of yet. Not quite there, but kind of, certainly. And, although there is still a risk out there, and unfortunately people are getting ill every day, and then even worse, losing their lives, I think part of you has to think, well, it's now here to stay, and we're going to have to live with COVID for the rest of our days, because it's going to be years before it's maybe a virus that we can eradicate and forget about and not think about, because it's something we can vaccinate from birth, or there's a cure for, or something like that. But I think you're right. We're in a transition period, and it could be years of a transition period.
Well, I think it would be silly for PWTAG to put a time scale on it and say, right, we're going to go with this code of practice for the next year, because I don't think you can raise anyone's expectations. Because going back to the very beginning of the pandemic, we were closing pools, probably thinking that we'll be opening up in 2 or 3 months. You open up, you close, you're locked down again, you've got a third wave, you've got all this sort of carry on. Who knows what the future holds? I think PWTAG have done the right thing and revising the code of practice right now, and we have got opportunities to try and get back to semi-normality. It isn't the same as it was before, but then you go everywhere just now, and things are not the same as they were before. You've still got ventilation that you need going to the pubs, going to the restaurants. You've still got quite a lot of places that I went to for dinner prior to the pandemic. They don't have the same amount of tables that they had before. They're still taking bookings. There's still that remnants of the pandemic, no matter how you look at it. And I can see us with that for another 18 months in. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what, Robin, as well? I just remember, that's just reminded me of something, how pleased you were when you came down here and you got to walk to the bar.
I know, I couldn't believe that. I was like, unbelievable. You can go, and I was thinking, you need to go and take a seat, mate. No, Robin, you can go to the bar. Yeah, and I'm like, no, you can't. And you're like, you can. Watch. And I'm like, I'm frightened to touch the bottle of beer,
That's probably been a first for you.
That is a first. You're right.
Yeah, that was quite funny when Robin could go to the bar. But also, Robin, in there as well, there's emphasis a bit more on cleaning and lifting it up. And I just want to put this into context, because people panic, because it's talking about 1,000 milligrams per litre in some cases. Now, the reason why I want to put this into context is that I want to just take Domestos for a second. So Domestos is sodium hypochlorite. It's got a few other additives in it for fragrances and God knows what else. But and if you take, for instance, Tesco Value bleach, it's sort of like a 2% kind of strength normally.
Well, yeah, they say 1%, but you know, I've seen it being made up, Ian. Do you know what I mean? It'll be approximately 1%.
Yeah. So let's just say we said we've got a Tesco's value bleach and it's 1%, hypothetically, right? 1% bleach is actually 10,000 parts per million.
Yeah.
Now, how many of us at home have got a bit of bleach in a cloth, wipe down a work surface, wipe down the bath, the shower tray, you know, the sink, the toilet, inside the toilet, and you've got standard what you call household bleach in your hand. Now, some of the domestics is as high as 4%, the stronger stuff, and none of us hesitate doing it. Yeah, your hand's a bit funny, your skin goes a bit tingy afterwards, but you don't hesitate and you just rinse your hand off. And it's a bit going back to this float cleaning argument that went on for ages, and people were panicking about 100 parts per million, 1,000 parts per million, whatever. My God, you do this all the time. You have no hesitation of doing it at home, and cleaning into these sort of strengths. It's not that much. It just really isn't that much. And still, I'm going to do it with using scrubbing brushes and with gloves on anyway. I'm not staying in 1,000 parts per million. I don't know.
The thing is, have you ever seen the Sage Wash?
Yeah.
The gun. You know, nobody bats an eyelid at using that. And that is, you know, quite a high concentration calcium hypochlorite. But it's dissolved, obviously, down. And you would think it was like bleach. And it is similar to bleach, but it doesn't. If you use it properly, it doesn't bleach your clothing and stuff like that, but it kills everything. You know, it's that. And people don't, you know, guys that have got the Sage Wash kit don't bat an eyelid when they're using it. They use it quite, you know, freely and don't have an issue. If you don't clean it out, then you'll have a problem. But, you know, it's similar to that. And there's a lot of people that use chlorine dioxide to clean the floats. But then they're maybe apprehensive when you use the word 1,000 milligrams per litre for the free. Oh, I don't know about that, Robin. But there's no difference, really. You know, it's just that thought process. It's the number in your head. And you're right, there's nothing to fear, you know?
Yeah, I think that's key. And then probably achieving the targets. I mean, there's some, the really important thing as well is that, and me and Robin were doing this obviously with us when we met up together, it's not just vacuuming a pool, but it's brushing a pool. You know, and brushing a pool and getting all those biofilms off the walls and all the fats and all the bacteria that like stick to the walls and stuff. And I wish we had a video of this, Rob, and that pool vac that was chasing you around the pool.
Aye, listen, it's got, it must have the GPS tracker on me. That's what it was. You know, it was attracted to my Speedos or something, you know.
It was quite funny.
It's the best looking thing that's chased me in a swimming pool for a while.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that. So, I just wanted to get that through. I mean, for me, those are the big highlights. And I mean, frequency has changed in a lot of stuff. You know, it's saying things like pool vacs. If you've got a robot vaccine every night, if you've got a manual vac, then twice a week. I think I remember rightly reading it. There's lots of other bits. I don't know if you've got it up there, Rob, and some of the cleaning parts that you got to do.
Absolutely, aye. Hold on, just one thing, just a wee disclaimer. Nobody should be using a pool vacuum when there are people in the swimming pool, Ian, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to buy a pool vac, please contact Robin.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, definitely. Best quality pool vacs in the industry. Very good for cleaning. Going back to the biofilm, key point there, Ian. Everyone must have heard of biofilm over the last 18 months.
Yeah. Surely
everyone's heard of that because of leaving things and letting bacteria grow on surfaces over a period of 2, 3, 4 months, and then having to clean up before you're giving things out to the public. And, you know, the amount of cleaning that we've had to do over the last 18 months has been crazy. So people must be used to it by now. Yeah.
No, definitely. And yeah, you might just think, well, yeah, obviously I've got a pool vac. I don't need to brush a pool, but it's just so important. You get to brush a pool to be able to sort of help the quality of the water. And I know it's difficult and it's a bit random because you brush it and it doesn't look like you're doing anything, but it makes a big difference with pools.
It makes a difference with agitating the water as well, because it helps delay algae growth in the pool, because you're circulating parts of the pool that might not get good circulation normally. So it's the agitated water that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Robin, I don't know if we've got anything to talk about else this week, other than sort of stuff that's probably going to come up in the future. And hopefully we'll start getting some guests back on.
Absolutely. I think we should be going to visit somewhere and doing a wee podcast from somebody's cafe in a swimming pool or something like that. Yeah.
We just try.
We'll get someone. In fact, somebody tell us when we put this on Swimming Pool Network on the Facebook page, if anyone wants for us to go and visit their facility, let us know. And we can maybe do a wee podcast from there. We maybe even do competitions. What do you think? That would be quite good. Do a wee competition or something. Yeah.
Well, I could do a win in a wig. Something like that.
Win in a wig.
Yeah.
We could give people the opportunity to win 10% off a pool vacuum or something like that, or a test kit, something like that. Yeah, maybe a TDS sensor. Yeah, we'll do a wee competition where people could win a TDS sensor. Let's see what the listeners think. Yeah, we could give the 5,000th listener TDS sensor.
We're not far off 5,000 listens.
Right, the 10,000th listener. Brilliant. Listen, superb. Nice to be back online. Nice to speak to you again, Ian.
You too.
After I've seen you in the flesh. Listeners, brilliant. Keep tuning in. We're sorry that they've not been releasing much, but we've been rammed big time. But we will be more regular. We will promise that we'll be more regular, and we've got exciting plans ahead. Ian's alluded to that so far, but we're hoping to help provide some resources to the industry that might help them with procedural aspects and help implement best practice. So we're working on it. Stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted.
Perfect. See you later, guys.
See you later.